And moving forward, we've already talked about freshwater aquatic ecosystems. Now we're going to talk about the coastal and ocean systems. So when we think about the ocean, there are three main drivers related to climate change. One is sea level, one is ocean temperature, and one is ocean acidity. All of these things are increasing, right? This graph here is showing the global mean sea level and how we expect it to change from modern times up to the year 2100. And you can see that in RCP 2.6, that best case scenario, we expect 0.4 meters of sea level rise. That's over another foot of sea level rise. And then with the worst case scenario, RCP 8.5, we expect to see 0.8 meters or over 2 feet of sea level rise. Now, because we are expecting the sea level rise, this means that the structures that we have on our coast that block flooding, such as seawalls and revetments, will no longer be good enough to prevent flooding. This graph is showing how much taller all of our coastal structures will need to be in order to maintain the same frequency of flooding. And you'll notice that we on the US East Coast are in the prime area of needing to increase the height of our coastal structures. And that's because hurricanes are hitting us, right? Hurricanes that are building up in the hot tropical regions in the equator are then moving to the east through the Atlantic due to the trade winds and then up and hitting our coast. So because we are getting those hurricanes, we're also expected to have to build our structures higher and higher and higher. Now, it's very important that we do so because more and more people are moving to these coastal areas. Populations and development are increasing along our coast very, very quickly. These maps are showing what could be considered close to the current population around the coast and then what is expected for the year 2050. And you'll notice that pretty much every coast by the year 2050, we expect to be in a zone of very high to high human development. Right, so the population and our assets, what we're building, our infrastructure that's going to be exposed to coastal risks, as well as human pressures on coastal ecosystems, is going to increase significantly in the coming decades due to population growth, economic development, and urbanization on our coasts. Right, and we're part of that problem. Right, we're living on the coast right here, so we understand the risk, and we need to adapt. Right, the low elevation coastal zone, or the LECZ, constitutes 2% of the world's land area, but contains 10% of the world's population. So this is showing that, right, humans really like living on the coast. We like the beach, but also it's very important for trade. It's where we have our ports. It's where we have a lot of our tourism industries. It's where we have a lot of our fishery industries, our aquaculture. So a disproportional number of people live on our coast compared to inland. And about 65% of the world's cities, our mega cities that have greater than 5 million people, are also located in this low elevation coastal zone. So we have put ourselves in a very risky situation. Okay. In 2002, about $1.9 trillion worth of assets lied between fell below the 1 in 100 year extreme sea level, which means that about every 100 years, there would be an extreme flood that could put at risk about $2 trillion worth of human assets. And most of this was concentrated in just a few coastal cities, being Miami, that makes up, Miami's not shown on this graph. Miami, New York, which makes up it's going up 20%. New Orleans, Japan, the Netherlands, Virginia Beach, also in the USA, China. Right, so compared to other regions, Asia exhibits the greatest exposure in terms of population and assets. You can see all of those large blue dots over there. Right, and showing just how quickly these places are growing. Right, as I said, New York City is growing 20% in the number of people that are there, but many places in Asia are growing almost 50% or above 50% in the number of people that are living there. Right, so we have a lot of people on our coasts. We have a lot of money and our assets on our coast. So we know that we need to protect these areas from coastal flooding due to sea level rise. And we know that for the 21st century, the benefits of protecting against increased coastal flooding and land loss is actually going to be more cost effective compared to doing nothing and just letting it happen. So it's better to spend money now to prevent some sort of disaster rather than wait for the disaster and then pay for it later.